take his soul.
Go tomorrow, fellas.
I want to see how bad he wants to play.
Y'all feel that? Can you feel that thing? That thing is beating your doggone chest. Now, can you feel that? Can you feel that?
All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome into the Philly Experience podcast. My name is Max Gretzel, joined by Tanner Gilmartin and Tyler Hood. It feels like an eternity since we've been back with you guys, but since we've been with you guys, but it's great to be back, I should say. A lot of, I should say, a sense of urgency just with the school year coming back. He's still rocking his job at WIP. I mean, it feels a lot. It feels like we got to pick up the intensity, pick up the pace, a lot to get to, a lot to cover since we've been, here with you guys on the podcast. And of course, so much has happened with the Eagles, Sixers, and the Ben Simmons rumors continue to swirl. We're seeing a bunch of videos. I'm sure you guys want to get into that and touch on the Phillies, who at one point looked like they're in first place and, not pulling away, but, with a sturdy lead, 2 games up on the Atlanta Braves and the Mets. All of a sudden they go to Arizona, they drop 3 straight to the worst team in baseball, and then go to San Diego and take 2 out of 3 from the Padres. So who knows with this team? They're back and forth all the time. And I know we're going to start with the Eagles. That's a subject we got to get to a little bit later on. But to kick off with the Birds and talk about Jalen Hurts specifically, the Eagles, the whole team, the preseason, Jalen Hurts having the stomach virus. A lot of people are back. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, I've heard a lot of people really say, you can't really blame the guy. Sometimes you just can't go out there. You can't perform. Other people are saying he needs the reps. They're really being aggressive with it. He should have been out there. Understand both sides of the argument, but at the end of the day, if you're sick, you're sick. You can't play. When you first realized Jalen Hurts was not going to play, and then you found out that he went to the hospital for it, I'm assuming that kind of eased your nerves a little bit about the situation.
Oh, I was scared. Scared the hell out of me when I found out he was going to the hospital. I'm like, all right, well, what the hell's going on? Is he all right? Is he cool? Just to find out he had a stomach virus. All right, cool. Here's the thing, people. And you know what? I've been hearing since I got back from vacation, and since I've been taking phone calls or whatnot, it seems as though there's like a split in the city between whether or not Jalen Hurts need to be playing this upcoming Friday against the Jets, or he doesn't need to be playing against the Jets. Look here. Here's the thing, people. It's preseason. The games don't count. It don't freaking matter. Okay. It does not matter whether or not he plays this Friday or not. It truly doesn't, because look at the way the Eagles are handling him. First off, all right, they're handling him as if he is their franchise quarterback. All right. So with all that being said, you take care of your franchise quarterback. You take care of your franchise guys. All right. For the most part on Friday, you're not going to see, all right, the main guys. You're not going to see Lane Johnson out there. You're not going to see Brandon Brooks, Jason Kelsey. You're not going to see Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. You're not going to see Darius Slay, the main guys. You're not going to see that this Friday. What you are going to see most likely, you're going to see the backups. You're going to see the third stringers. You're going to see the fourth stringers. You're going to see all those guys fighting for a spot on the team. All right. And that's perfectly fine with me. That is perfectly fine. I understand. Look, what benefit does Jalen Hurts have, or any of these starters have, to playing in this last game, potentially getting hurt? All right. Yes, freak things happen, and any one of these guys can get injured on a freak play, on non-contact play. But that's the thing. If anything, I need these guys healthy for the season. Period, point blank. We've been pretty good with injuries, all right, during the preseason. We really haven't had any major injuries that impacted the roster. So with all that being said, it really doesn't matter. Jalen Hurts, I don't care if he gets reps during preseason. I don't care. I really don't. It really does not matter to me. All right. We just need to get to the regular season and keep him healthy to the regular season. Period.
Yeah. T, I was in agreement with you until that last thing you said. You don't care if if he gets reps in the preseason. That's where I'm going to disagree with you, because it's very important for him to get this experience in the preseason, out there with the starters, whether it's just for one quarter. You want to make sure that your QB1 is as comfortable as possible when he's on that field, and especially when you're playing at the link. That energy is just different. You want to make sure. Now, of course, he's played games. He's played games for the Eagles before. That's obvious. But this time he is the actual starting quarterback. You want to make sure that the newly drafted Smith is comfortable with his quarterback as well. Now, this is coming from a guy who, I have season tickets for the Eagles, and I was at that preseason game against the Patriots, and how just terrible that game was. When the game first started and it was announced that Joe Flacco was under center, the first offensive snap for the Eagles, the whole crowd, the stadium, just, it was just a sigh. They wanted to see Jalen Hurts out there. They want to see what he can do. And for Joe Flacco to do what he did, just for how long he was in there, we know that this guy can't seriously be competing for the starting quarterback spot.
That guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
This team is in deep, deep trouble. If that's the case, though. But T, I'm with you in effect that I'm fully supporting Jalen Hurts right now. I think that he's going to be a great quarterback, no matter what team he is for. It seems like the rumors have died down for the Deshaun Watson, but I know there's still some cooking up. But right now, we just need to focus on who we have right now, and that's Jalen Hurts. He had a stomach infection. I know as soon as you hear that someone is sick these days, you assume that it's COVID related, but thankfully that was not the case. And I'm hoping Jalen Hurts comes back this season and really proves to the fan base and the league that he can be a starting quarterback.
I mean, look, in terms of reps for, Jalen Hurts and getting that connection with Devontae Smith. I mean, look, I'm not gonna say that's not important, but the way they've been approaching practice, the way they've been approaching these joint practices, that's where they're building their chemistry. They're building their chemistry through practice. And me personally, I don't have an issue with that. Look, man, I understand live action, but the way, from what I hear, they've been simulating these practices, almost treating it as live game experience. I think for the most part, you can really kind of get away with these guys not playing in a preseason game. You just can. I'm sorry. I just don't see the point of playing these guys in the preseason. I don't. All right. Eventually, it's going to come to a point where the NFL is just going to eliminate the preseason all.
I don't think that'll ever be the case either. They make too much money on the preseason games, and you have to buy the tickets if you want to be a season ticket member. Tanner knows that. So that's how they get you with the preseason games. But for me, I think we all support Jalen Hurts. I'm not bashing Jalen Hurts. I'm not a Jalen Hurts believer. That doesn't make me a bad person. I just think that he's not an NFL caliber quarterback. And I think we're all going to learn that relatively quickly. Not all because of his fault. It's not all on him, but I think it's because of the team surrounding him. One thing goes wrong with this offensive line injury wise, and we're pretty much screwed. Defense has been suspect. I think it'll be better than last year, but the defensive line's clearly still our strength. As far as the preseason goes, T, at this point, with the last preseason game coming up, I still would like to see Jalen Hurts out there as a fan. I don't know, or I don't think that he will be. I think he should be, based on the fact that he just missed the previous game, and he's still, not a rookie, but almost a rookie in a way. I know he's played football games, like Tanner mentioned before. But at the end of the day, I think when you saw Devontae Smith step on the football field, you saw all you needed to see. The route running skills, this guy is the real deal, in my opinion. I knew that coming out of Alabama. That's why I wanted the Eagles to grab him if he was available. Luckily, they did. I think he's going to be the real deal. Jalen Reagor's another guy who we'll see. We saw a couple of flashes on Twitter with the catch that he made against the Patriots in the joint practice. But for me, when it comes back to Jalen Hurts, I think he had a pretty poor camp based off what I'm not there, but what I'm seeing the reporters say. He's gotten progressively better, I think, as the training camp and everything like that has gone on through the summer. The joint practices clearly should help, gives them a little bit more competition. And the Eagles obviously are going to go up to the Meadowlands and take on the Jets in the joint practice later this week. So I think that all in all will help the team. And then obviously they play them on Friday night and we'll see who's out there. But again, I think all in all, I personally would like to see Hurts play. I don't need to see the offensive line play. I know what Lane Johnson can do. But at the end of the day, as a fan, of course you want to see Hurts out there. But
Now, Max, listen to what you just said. Listen to what you just said real quick. Now, don't get me wrong. That you said that you don't want to see the offensive line play. That's fine. So you don't need to see Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, James Kelsey, and all those guys. You're comfortable knowing that those guys are going to go out there for the regular season and they're going to perform. All right. Here's the issue, though. You sit those guys in and you play Jalen Hurts. You're putting Jalen Hurts behind a second-team offensive line. And I think we've seen what this second-team offensive line looks like. Do you really want to risk that?
That's
no.
Fair point. Personally, from my standpoint, and I think this just comes back to the fact that you might be higher on Jalen Hurts than I am. Where I can agree with you with that is, and why I do hesitate to say I want to see Hurts play, is the fact that our backup quarterback is basically next to useless. All right, no one wants to see Joe Flacco out there on the field. If Hurts was playing poorly in training camp throughout, and it was looking like, wow, this guy might not even start, almost like a Cam Newton, Mac Jones type of QB battle where you really don't know who the clear-cut guy is going to be, then it would be a different story. Then I would say, Hurts, fine, get out there and see what you can do. I understand where you're coming from, where Hurts is a locked-in starter. I understand that completely, but I don't know. I think Jalen Hurts going into this season, I'm not sold on him as the franchise guy. I hope you guys aren't either. I hope you guys need to see more. I don't know if it's just me or not. I believe in him. I want to. I put my faith in him to want to see him succeed. But at the end of the day, if my guts tell me if I had to pick, is this guy going to be our franchise guy for the next 3, 4, 5 years down the road? I just don't see it.
Don't get me wrong. I'm hold on, real quick, Tanner. I'm not going to say I'm 100% fully committed to saying that Jalen Hurts is the franchise quarterback and I'm backing him 1,000% moving forward. I'm not saying that, but I am treating him as if he is my franchise quarterback because out of all the quarterbacks that are currently on the roster, he's the best one that we got. You guys seen what Joe Flacco looked like. You guys seen what Nick Mullins looked like. So, look. He's the best quarterback on the damn roster, and he's the best chance for this season actually being any kind of a decent season. So, listen, you guys better get comfortable seeing that number 1 jersey on the field.
And I hope we do get comfortable with that, T. I can comfortably say that I'm a fan of Jalen Hurts, and I think that he can succeed, but I still do need to see what he can do now that he is the guy in Philadelphia. It's probably going to take maybe 3 weeks till we really are sure whether or not. And then still, we could still not know after that. But for me, I think that the only reason Jalen Hurts should play in this 3rd preseason game is because he didn't play. If he played a quarter in the last preseason game, then I would understand not playing him at all. Not playing any of the starting linemen, but you have to see what he has still. We keep talking about how he's played already for the Eagles, but that's a different situation. I just want to see, as a fan too, I just want to see him out there. I want to feel a little more comfortable going into opening up the season for the Eagles, and that's just my thoughts.
Now, let me play devil's advocate real quick, too. Let me play devil's advocate. Not to be an asshole or anything like that. Let me just play devil's advocate for a minute.
All right, an ass, but go ahead.
Jalen Hurts, let's say he gets out there in Friday's preseason game. He blows out his knee, never plays another game again. That takes the Eagles from, I said on our show very on early in summer, maybe late spring, that the Eagles will win 10 games. Probably the fan coming out at me more than my head was really thinking at the time. But say that happens. Say he doesn't play another down of football again. The Eagles have to go out there. Maybe they sign somebody else's scrub because they don't believe in Joe Flacco or whatnot. That relatively takes the Eagles from winning, 6, 7 games to 3, 4 games. It's not really that big of a difference. You have 3 first-round picks next year. You use one of them on the best quarterback available, and you go from there. If you say you have Sam Howell right now at University of North Carolina going into his last year, and you have him on the Eagles and you have Jalen Hurts on the University of North Carolina still, what's the difference? I feel like they're relatively similar to quarterback. There's no way I can sit here and be like, okay, Jalen Hurts, he's got 4 games of NFL experience under his belt. That's what he's got over Sam Howell. But this is just a comparison. I don't see how Sam Howell being on the Eagles right now from North Carolina would win or lose X amount of games less than Jalen Hurts would. That's just my opinion. I don't see what Jalen Hurts gives you that you're like, wow, this guy can win a division. This guy can win me 12, 13 games. I know the team around him. I just don't see that individual star potential is my thing. I understand his supporting cast and his surrounding cast, whatever, might not be, gold at this point. But at the end of the day, with him individually, I just don't have that, when we got Carson, and maybe it's because Hurts was a second round pick, Carson was a first round pick. So you had that feel, you had that sense of urgency where it was like, wow, this could be something. We just got to give him some time. I don't feel that with Hurts. I don't know
if it gets to that point where Jalen Hurts cannot play any more football already. I mean, that really screws the organization so much and so many different ways, because one, you can't even use him in a trade anymore for Deshaun Watson. And then this team might as well bring back Tim Tebow as quarterback and see how that goes. Because Joe Flacco is not the answer. He's not even the answer at number 2 from what he's been showing. Right now, a comfortable number 2 going into preseason. That I believe all three of us thought we were in a good position at quarterback with the back of Joe Flacco and then Nick Mullins. And then Nick Mullins stunk up the link so many times already, and he hasn't even played a regular season game for us yet. It's just not a good position to be in if Jalen Hurts is not the guy. So I understand you think we're putting a lot on Jalen Hurts, but that's because we have to. He has to work out at this point.
And yes, exactly, Tanner. You hit the nail right on the head. Like I said, these backups ain't worth a damn. They really not. I'm sorry. Joe Flacco's washed up and done. All right. His career is basically over. And Nick Mullins, I'm sorry. Didn't we beat a Nick Mullins-led 49ers team in the previous season with a horrible Carson Wentz, if my memory serves me correctly? Like, come on now. Do I think that we probably need to start looking for a backup? I don't think the Eagles are going to be looking for a backup. I don't. Do I think they need to be? Yes. Will they? No. They're paying Joe Flacco about $3-4 million this year. All right. He's going to be your backup quarterback. Now, you should
be paying him less than $1 million is what you should be paying him.
You better hope.
I think there's a couple teams, if I remember the reports, looking for Joe Flacco's services, and the Eagles outbid the other 2 or 3 teams, whatever it may be.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Let's talk about the overall team now. Let's move away from Hurts and we'll come back to him if need be. But we want to obviously mention a couple of cuts here. The first one being Kerryon Johnson cut. Surprisingly for me, I mean, I didn't hear too much about him in the preseason because we talked about like how many guys were in that running back room. Jordan Howard and Kenny Gainwell, obviously, who's not going to be cut. But Kerryon Johnson gets cut. A guy they brought in here, and it was thinking, wow, okay, maybe he'll make the team as a third down back or rotational guy, but he can't really play special teams, which I think hurt his his stock on this team as a whole.
Not only that, but Kerryon Johnson also got hurt during training camp as well. So that's what also did him in, especially with how heavy this running back room is and the way Jordan Howard has been performing in the preseason as well as training camp as well. Not to mention the fact that, like as you mentioned before, Kenny Gainwell is going to be a problem on this team. So look, I'll even go as far as saying this. Miles Sanders as the starter isn't necessarily a lock or a guarantee, because from what I'm hearing, Kenny Gainwell has been turning some heads. And if Miles Sanders doesn't we all know how good of a running back specifically Miles Sanders is. But if he doesn't work on those dropsies, if he doesn't work on, catching that ball out of the backfield, Kenny Gainwell's going to come in and take his spot. And I'm saying this right now.
Is one of my favorite guys in camp. I love this player. I think he's an excellent pass catcher. He's the best pass catching running back on the team. He's built like he's got speed. He can get to the outside. I like him a lot. I'm with you on that too. I mean, if you want to call it a hot take, whatever you want to call it, you guys know that I'm not a huge Miles Sanders guy. I've never been a huge Miles Sanders guy. Not that he's a bad player. I think he's good. I just feel like as a second round pick, we deserved more than what we've gotten from him so far. And I don't think he's come through. Now, Gainwell is a 4th, 5th round pick. I think he's going to shatter that value that we got him in. I think this guy is the real deal. He's got speed. He's got pass catching ability. And that's what you need, right? You need pass catching ability. And he's the best one we got on the team. Now, whether he can pass protection, that's another question. We'll see. The more opportunities he gets, we'll see how good he is. I know Jordan Howard's not horrible at it. I'm not going to say you're going to say I'm an expert at the techniques and like you are. But Jordan Howard, he's been in the league 6 years. He's definitely been around. He's gotten the experience. He's, been capable of pass blocking in the past. I'm not saying he's the best at it, but he can. And we'll see Kenny Gainwell with his build. Maybe he's a little bit undersized and smaller than some of these guys that he's competing with for touches. But I love Gainwell. I really do. And Smith and Gainwell, it's probably my 2 favorites on this team going into the year with their ceilings. So, I mean, they could literally shatter their ceilings or where they can possibly get to talent wise.
I completely agree with you, and it's not really a hot take. Listen, Kenny Gainwell, it is a possibility, and I'm sorry, but Miles Sanders has had trouble with dropping balls not only in the previous season but also in these practices as well. So if it continues, look, I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing more snaps going to Jordan Howard and Kenny Gainwell. Do not
Maybe
be
Gainwell in the
surprised.
slot. Maybe you even use him in the slot a little bit.
Actually, that's the crazy part about Kenny Gainwell. You can use him in the slot because he's basically like another receiver, and he's quick like a receiver. He's got route running ability. So Kenny Gainwell is going to present some matchup nightmares for this offense. So it's a possibility you're going to see Kenny Gainwell out there a lot.
Yeah, who I liked and highlighted from the last preseason game against the Patriots was Holyfield. Actually, we were sticking on the running back topic, but even though it was in garbage time at that point, I mean the whole game basically was garbage time. Just about when it went up to 3 scores. That's when players really started getting opportunities to get out there and show what they have. But towards the end of the game, I mean, he rushed 4 times over 30 yards. He had a couple catches, so he can catch. They can really use him as a utility guy as well over there. So this team's in good position running back wise. Now we could kind of be jinxing ourselves here because we know how this Eagles team goes with injuries at running back specifically. You have Jordan Howard, a player who I really like, but just hasn't really been working out that great on the Eagles. Now he's still a guy that I personally would enjoy having on this team and watching play because he's a tank. He takes over like the LeGarrette Blount option over there. And you have Miles Sanders, who I think is a great running back. And he's shown some flashes. And I know Max isn't really on board with that, but I think Sanders with a little more years under his belt now, he's going to have that opportunity to show what he really has, but he's always going to have competition at the running back position, especially when he's on the Eagles and how the Eagles go. It's 6 deep on this roster right now.
Yep.
So there's a lot of guys really fighting for that 3-4 at this point still.
It's frustrating. I just hate that we're not hitting on these other round picks. I mean, that's also tied to Miles Sanders. I think I deserve more out of Miles Sanders than where we got him. I think drafting Landon Dickerson as an injury-prone offensive lineman when we really don't have any depth on the offensive line was a questionable decision. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, we know what we got in him. And then guys that you hit on later, obviously Jalen Mills, and hopefully Kenny Gainwell will be there too. I mean, there's guys that we get later on, and we'll see what a couple of these defensive tackles that we picked up later on in the draft. It was just the early round misses that Howie Roseman's really caused me my pain and my discomfort because it's frustrating. Davion Taylor, another guy. Listen, he was having a good camp early on, then he gets hurt and miss some time. But it's not his fault. It's just the swings and the misses on the 2, 3, 4th round picks.
Now, it's funny that you're mentioning these draft picks because, as we move on to the defensive side of the ball, Milton Williams, he's not only just showing out, in these preseason games, as you guys seen, he's been performing in training camp as well. Milton Williams is going to be a serious problem on this already talented defensive line. And the crazy part about Milton Williams is that you can basically move him all around. As you guys seen, probably he's not just playing, that defensive tackle spot. They're moving him to defensive end as well. It's that versatility. And, I'm noticing a pattern with that in this Jonathan Gannon defensive scheme where they want versatile guys to kind of move around and see exactly where the weakness is on the opposing team's offensive line. And I like things like that. I like players that are versatile and that, you can move around and experiment with things with. And listen, people, I'm going to tell you this right now. I think this defense is going to be very, first off, it's going to be a hybrid defense because I've seen variations of 3-4 and 4-3. All right. So you guys know I'm a freak about that. Like, I love that. I love versatility on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't think we've seen truly what this defense is going to do. I truly don't. I think we've seen the bare minimum. And for me, that's exciting.
What can you tell me about Jacoby Stevens, Steve? This is a guy I was pretty excited about coming out of LSU. I know he was kind of one of those hybrid players, bigger safety, undersized linebacker type of guy. He could kind of play both. Do you expect him to get on the field besides special teams at all?
It's going to be hard for Jacoby Stevens to get on the field because you still have Alex Singleton at the regular linebacker spot, and then you also have Eric Wilson, who's going to be your Mike linebacker going forward. There could be a spot for Jacoby Stevens. I'm not
making the roster
on the roster. At this current moment, it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say because one, I don't 100% know what the defensive scheme is going to look like. Two, though. One thing to go in favor of Jacoby Stevens is everybody's looking for that hybrid safety corner linebacker guy. So that's Jacoby Stevens forte. However, I don't know what this scheme is going to look like. I don't know what his role is going to be. It could be possible, but for right now, from what I'm not really hearing too much of anything. He hasn't really flashed. So I'm going to say right now, he's probably going to be regulated to special teams.
I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. You don't hear from him. But, I mean, do you want to hear from him? I mean, like, did he do something? Did he mess something up? So, I mean, what about my guy, Zach McPherson? I know he got cooked by N'Keal Harry.
I was about to say, see, what happened to Zach McPherson in that Patriots game last week is a prime example of why you do not put a slot corner on the freaking outside. That is the reason right there. Zach McPherson is not a outside corner. He is a slot corner. Keep him in the slot. If you put him on the outside, you've seen what the results are.
And N'Keal Harry's not even that good. He's not even that good of a receiver. He just literally ran right by him. He didn't catch the ball, but
it's the same. It's the same thing that we've been complaining about year in and year out with Avonte Maddox. Do not put these slot guys on the outside. Listen, if you guys have to pick up another outside corner, then so be it. Hey, I checked out the waiver wire yesterday. Guess who's available? Russell Douglas. Not a bad corner. Bring him in. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't help. I mean, doesn't hurt.
In Carolina last year, but that's a name that doesn't really stick with us too well. So how are you going to sell that to the fan base?
It's not about selling. We already have our outside corners at this point. It's about making sure that you have a backup for your outside corners, because otherwise you're putting slot guys on the outside, and that's not a good result. You're not.
Let's go real quick here. A couple more notes. I'll throw it to Tanner if we get his final word on this before we move it on, because obviously we want to get to the Ben Simmons thing as the show winds on here. Tanner, final thoughts on the Birds, and see you as well.
My final thoughts on the Birds is that they are going to do better than we think they're doing. This preseason is not going to have shown what this team can actually do. Of course, you haven't had Jalen Hurts, and we just talked about it. But I think this team can still be, I think they can be a 7-8 win team. And that's what I'm going to say that going into the season. Now we all had our schedule predictions months ago, but I think that this team has a lot of surprising depth. I say surprising because there's guys that we really haven't heard of yet that are going to make a name for themselves in the city. And that's just my prediction.
So my thing is this: I've been fielding calls, on WIP since I've gotten back, and I've been listening and hearing people what they got to say about the entire team and the preseason and all that. I'm like, look, guys, I understand you guys are concerned, especially after the Patriots whooped the Eagles' ass. Look, it's preseason, guys. First off, the entire offensive scheme hasn't even been revealed yet. As you've seen, Nick Sirianni has a history and has been with teams that run the football. It's not a coincidence that they have all these running backs on the roster. The reason being, the running back is going to be a major feature in the offensive scheme. The issue is they're just not trying to show their hand. This is preseason. Same thing with the defense. All right. I can almost guarantee you, like, they're showing basic looks right now, but once we get full swing into the regular season, you're going to start seeing some exotic schemes. You're going to start seeing some exotic looks. This is preseason, people. Relax. We don't need to see the starters necessarily. We don't need Nick Sirianni to show off his entire hand to the NFL. It's preseason. Got a couple more weeks of the regular season, people. Just relax.
So yeah, like we're on a roller coaster here. You know why? Because you're trying to calm the nerves of Philadelphia Eagles sports fans. But the next topic we're going to get into is going to raise the tensions just back up a little bit higher, because we got to touch on Ben Simmons. We got to touch on some more offseason videos about him coming out, making some plays, getting guarded by 5'4" guys, kind of dribble past them and dunk on nobody. So I think this just makes me not like Ben Simmons more, because I know he knows what he's doing. And at the same time, I hope he notices it because it's not coming from his personal account. I know it's like Chris Johnson Hoops, whatever, his personal trainer and things like that with the summer runs out in Los Angeles or whatever. But as a Sixer fan, the fact that he's not traded yet, the unknowns of what's going to happen here. We thought everything was heating up early on, maybe about a month ago. Things since then have died down. I don't know what's on Daryl Morey's mind right now. I really don't. I don't know if he's still monitoring the Damian Lillard situation. I don't know if he's, trying to get more out of maybe the Kings or the Warriors or something like that. Me personally, I'm thinking maybe he's trying to go for that home run, that grand slam superstar. And then as we get closer to the season, if that just doesn't come to fruition, he'll go for that second tier player. But I just at this point just had enough of this guy. I mean, once he didn't dunk that basketball, I think we're all on the same page when it comes to Ben Simmons and when we're at with him. But you can't just go in the gym and start shooting threes like it's nothing and then come out and not show it in the regular season. And I think we're all just over it at this point.
I hear everybody's frustration, and trust me and believe me, I'm frustrated too. I'm so glad Tanner hasn't sent me any videos like he traditionally would. But here's the thing, people, and I understand everybody has the Tanner mentality of
What's he here for?
I understand all that. And trust me, I feel the exact same way. Here's the issue. For one thing, in terms of Damian Lillard, from what I'm hearing, Damian Lillard has bought into the Portland Trailblazers idea of having Chauncey Billups as their head coach. So he's going to stay in Portland for the time being. Here's the thing, people, and I said this as soon as the season was over. If you think for 1 second that Daryl Morey is going to have this dynamic superstar deal that we can just get rid of Ben Simmons just like that, you're crazy and you're out of your mind. I said this from the beginning. First and foremost, Ben Simmons is a damn near max player. That presents an issue in and of itself because who the hell is going to pay that much money for a player that doesn't shoot? That's issue number one. Nobody wants to take on that contract. Two, the NBA knows the type of player that he is now. So with all that being said, it's no secret who Ben Simmons is. I don't give a damn what he does against high schoolers. I don't give a damn how many threes that he shoots in a damn video that doesn't equate to the NBA court game. I don't give a damn. And guess what? The other NBA franchises don't give a damn either. You're not going to get a crazy deal for Ben Simmons. I've said this time and time again. I've said this coming out of the season. You're not going to get a crazy deal for Ben Simmons. Everybody knows who Ben Simmons is at this point. You're not getting another superstar. So all that being said, here's where I agree with Daryl Morey, not moving Ben Simmons. Because look here, I don't give a damn if Ben Simmons is frustrated with the team. What the hell are you got to be frustrated for? We're frustrated with you because we put all our faith into you. Some people even put more faith into you than Joel Embiid, and you still haven't performed and improved your game to the point where you have become an asset on the offensive end. Now you become a liability, and these other NBA teams see it. So you're not going to move him for anything. Daryl Morey can't move him for the pieces that everybody's dreaming of. He just can't do it. Why? Because Ben Simmons has no damn value. And I guarantee you this is going to happen. Ben Simmons is not going to be traded this offseason. We're going to go into the season with Ben Simmons on this 76ers team, period. Unfortunately, that's just goes.
All right, Tanner, come on, save us here. Save us. Tell me he's gone.
I got news for you, Philly fans. Welcome back to the trade drama, off-season trade drama. We had it with the Eagles. Welcome to the Sixers drama. Ben Simmons, Max, this isn't going to get better, this conversation. Oh. Ben Simmons is staying as a 76er for this year. That's what I don't want it to happen. I'm done with him, T. I'm not sending you any more of those shitty videos of Ben Simmons shooting a 3-point in the YMCA gym or Planet Fitness, wherever the hell he's playing at.
You piece of Swiss cheese.
I mean, you see the offers, which I do like from Daryl Morey, seeing the kind of just ridiculous offers he's making because he's telling people, unless I get a James Harden type deal, which the 76ers could have got last season, but that whatever. We're not talking about that anymore. You have Daryl Morey offering up Ben Simmons for Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, and 4 first-round picks. That's not going to happen. No way in hell. Ben Simmons is going to the Warriors for that. That was it. It was good for the Warriors to decline that. They know who they're dealing with. And Ben Simmons, for the relationship between him and the team to be beyond repair, which we've heard that with Carson Wentz and the Eagles. This time, I don't think the player in question is going to move teams. I think maybe we'll see a type of blockbuster deal before the trade deadline. But as far as I'm concerned, Ben Simmons is going to be a 76ers when that season starts up again. And Joel Embiid is not going to be in a good place because you have him who was coming off the best season of his career. And then getting injured, still playing through, putting his all into the game, and having the knucklehead of a teammate, Ben Simmons, just completely blow it, not go for the dunk in Game 7 against the Atlanta Hawks, and have Trae Young prance about Wells Fargo Center like he's the man. Embiid's not going to want to go through that again, but I'll tell you what, he will, because he represents Philly so well, and I'm glad that he's on the team. I'm not glad that Ben Simmons is going to be on the team.
See, I understand the contract situation. I definitely get that. You got to find a partner that's going to be able to somehow make that money work, whether it be for multiple players we get back in return. I don't think the draft picks would work. Here's my thing. I don't think he can get traded once the season starts, and here's why. Because the Eastern Conference is such a terrible conference in general. And when you have guys like Simmons, who's a regular season player, we know that, even though he doesn't shoot, Embiid, who's the best big man in the game, and Tobias Harris, very serviceable wing, that's going to guarantee you probably a top 4 or 5 seed off the bat. So you're not going to go to the trade deadline and say, hey, you know what, we're the 4 seed, a 3 seed in the East right now. We're going to trade with Ben Simmons in a blockbuster trade. That's kind of where my issue lies. If you're, an 8 seed, if you're 7, or if you're a 9, whatever, and you're kind of on the bubble of making the playoffs, and you say, you know what, let's pack it in, let's sell Simmons and regroup for next season, understandable. But when you have Joel Embiid on your team, you're never going to be a 7-8 seed. The worst you're going to be,
Max,
a 6 or 5 6.
It's a great point by you, definitely, I see where you're coming from. But you make that trade if you want to be a better team than a 4 or 5 seed. Now they were the first seed, but if the Sixers want improvement and just get past the second round, finally, they need to make a trade, and they know what has to be done. They know Ben Simmons has to be on there.
I agree.
It turned out to be like a Jimmy Butler deal then. Like how we got Butler early on in the season, maybe a deal like that where he was, a disgruntled star, wanted out, and we went out there and got him, because you're not going to be able to trade with another contender. That's kind of where the Warriors come into play. You think Portland will be in contention. You're going to have to find a team like the Kings, who you would think by midseason are out of playoff contention at that point, and probably would be willing to sell for a rebuild, because at this point, if they're terrible again this year, which you would think they would be, that's going to be how many years in a row have they missed the playoffs? Like a bunch, right? So you would think maybe they would be open to the fact that they would want to rebuild and maybe trade for a Simmons and give up like a Tyrese Halliburton or a Buddy Hield. I don't know if they would give up Fox, but that could be something that you can monitor, because Fox's contract works out, which T was saying earlier.
That's the scenario. Actually, yeah, that's the exact scenario I was trying to also map out as well. Was that you go into the season, you're going to have to go into the season with Ben Simmons. It's going to happen. So your best bet scenario is to trade him during the season, because you never know what team who had expectations of being good, now all of a sudden they're not exactly good. Like, for example, all last season we kept hearing from the Washington Wizards that Bradley Beal was disgruntled. He was frustrated with the team, and he was available via trade. So there's scenarios like that. Or shoot, maybe the Portland Trailblazers do come out and they're not exactly lighting it up, and Damian Lillard wants out. Same scenario as you described with the Sacramento Kings with De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. So it's not a bad thing to have Ben Simmons going into the regular season. It's not. It's just that he can't stay on this team. Like, he cannot be an important part of this team. He just can't at this point. The relationship has been severed. And I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell Ben Simmons is frustrated about, because everybody has handled him and coddled him like a little freaking child. I don't know what the hell he's frustrated about, but as fans, as the Sixers organization, and on behalf of Joel Embiid, I know we're all frustrated with Ben Simmons. So as much as everybody wants him out, he's not going to be out anytime soon. We're going to go into the season with him. Now, what happens during the regular season? Don't know. But Just
They have to make a move. They look what they've done in the offseason compared to other teams. You know, Brooklyn's gotten healthy, right? Brooklyn's gotten healthy this season. Kyle Lowry to the Miami Heat. Victor Oladipo back healthy next year. He'll be with the Miami Heat. Other teams around us have improved. Even, you know, obviously Kemba Walker getting traded. You can look at that as a positive for Boston getting him off the books contract-wise. So other teams around us have improved. And we just, what did we do? Resign Furkan and draft Jaden Springer. Dwight Howard's obviously gone, and we got Andre Drummond. So I guess you can look at that as a small improvement, however you want. I know Andre Drummond's a pretty polarizing guy. You either kind of like him like I do. I think he's a solid player, or you hate him and think all he does is get rebounds. I mean, you could look at it either way. But he's still young, and he's going to just play rotational minutes behind Embiid. I understand that. But we haven't made a big move, big enough to really push us. I mean, we got bumped out of the second round last year, and we didn't really make a huge improvement to change that. So that's kind of where my frustration lies, because we have to make a move. The other teams around us in the Eastern Conference have made moves. But PJ Tucker to the Miami Heat as well. I understand the Bucks lost him, but the Bucks are still top 2, maybe even the top seed in the East going into next year.
it's crazy. It really is. Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. That's the scary part. Everybody else around you has improved, but what the hell have you really done to improve? I mean, look, we were the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, but the reality is we're really not a number 1 seed team. That's the thing. The Brooklyn Nets should have been the number 1 seed if they didn't have all those injuries.
Yeah,
that was the true number 1 seed. For real, we might be a 3 or 4 seed at this point with the way this roster is built.
Look at the Knicks. The Knicks got Kemba Walker. You know, I understand that's not a big time. I mean, I'm just saying they're getting star power. They're getting names. They're trying to improve their team. Bradley Beal's staying in Washington. They get rid of Russell Westbrook. You can honestly, a lot of people hate Russell Westbrook. They think he's a stat pattern. So you can look at that in a positive light. You know, I mean, so there's different ways to look at these things. And from the Hawks re-signing John Collins, they've kind of, kept their core intact. I mean, going to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, healthy Trae Young. I know he rolled his ankle. That kind of, hurt his chances of being able to produce at a high level. These guys that's the frustrating thing. So if you're saying, that we're not going to be able to make a trade in this offseason still, and we're going to have to wait till the regular season starts to make a deal, you got to hope somebody out there is willing to pay up, or at least give you something where you can take. And it's not like you're not saying we're going to rebuild, but almost like a retool. You got to have at least one bona fide guy back in return to first of all, take over the point guard position, unless you get a ridiculous leap from Tyrese Maxey in year 2, where he might be able to take over the reins, as long as he has the supporting cast around him. Like if you get a Buddy Hield in a trade and you have Buddy Hield, Joel, and Tobias Harris, is that going to be enough to put Maxey in there and say, hey, Maxey, get these guys their own buckets, and then also get yours at the same time? So that's where you kind of have to weigh both sides of the coin.
Fortunately, yeah, we're going to go into the season with Ben Simmons. As fortunate as it is, I predicted that, and you just better hope there's a superstar out there that gets disgruntled during the season, because that's the only way you're going to be able to move Ben Simmons. That's the only way Daryl Morey is going to move Ben Simmons.
I mean, you're right, and it could happen. You know how people get disgruntled in the league these days, especially if they're in a poor organization. And on that note, I don't want to go from bad to worse, but I have to, because Phillies are going from good, and then, well, I guess you could say bad to good to bad, and now worse again, because their past week has just been mediocre, like they've kind of been all year long. And all of a sudden the Braves, who we thought with losing Ronald Acuna Jr. would not be able to maintain their offensive firepower, but with the trade deadline moves that they were able to make, adding a couple bats to their lineup, keep the power going. They've been hitting a ton of home runs. I know they got beat by the Yankees the other night, and that snapped their 9-game winning streak. But at this point, being 4.5 back of the Braves now, with the Braves clearly having the better roster, I just don't see at this point how the Phillies, with their inconsistent hitting, and their starting pitching, which hasn't been awful, their relief pitching, which hasn't been great but hasn't been awful. It's, for me, the real struggle has been the bats. Alec Boehm gets sent down to AAA because of how poor he's been playing. Didi Gregorius is still playing basically every day, and he's barely hitting around 200, which is just embarrassing. You're talking about a guy getting paid $15 to $16 million a year, and he's going to hit 5th or 6th in the middle of your lineup and hit 200. That's unacceptable. And overall, you're relying on Bryce, who's having an MVP caliber year, but when he's the only one in your lineup producing, you're not going to win too many baseball games. And that's where the frustration lies with JT, who's having an okay season. I want more from him offensively. but he hasn't been able to really do that. I think he might be getting tired this late in the year. So many factors with this team right now, and with around 50 to 60 games left, I'm just not sure that they're going to be able to win this division.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Everybody else was getting excited when the Phillies had gotten the first place. It was around the time before I took off, before we all took off for vacation. The Phillies had gotten into first place, and everybody's excited. Everybody was talking about postseason baseball and things of that nature. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm sorry. I was one of the negative people, and unfortunately, I hate to say that I was right, but I was right. This Phillies team is inconsistent. I'm sorry. They're just way too inconsistent for me to believe in. Even if the bats go crazy like they did during that streak, I still have to worry about the bullpen. And now we're in a situation where we're back in second place behind the Braves. I think we're 3.5 or 4 games out. And we can't hit all of a sudden. All right, we have issues during 4-hour lineup. We've always had issues in the bullpen. That's all. That's never going to change this season, at least. So, what were they doing for me to believe in them? Like that. That's what I go back to. There was nothing that they were doing to help to have me believe in them. They were beating teams that they were supposed to beat, and then you start losing against the teams that you were supposed to beat. You were supposed to be getting. The Phillies were supposed to be getting momentum during this stretch of their season because we're going up against teams that aren't necessarily world beaters. Okay, they're not doing that. They're not beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. This is the part of their schedule that was supposed to be easy, that was supposed to launch them into the playoffs, and they can't even beat teams such as the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's an issue. I'm sorry. I can't get behind this team, and I refuse to get behind this team. I don't care what this team does. I don't care if they even make the playoffs. It does not matter to me because I know who this team truly is.
Now, I'm going to try to look on the bright side of things while you two doomsayers continue. I mean, rightfully so, bagging this team because they deserve it. But I'm looking at the Phillies winning this series against the Padres. And then after the Rays, the Phillies have a pretty easy schedule. Now, I'm not looking at, how the Phillies most likely will drop a couple of those easy games. But you go to the Braves, who are 4 games ahead, but that could easily change because they have the Giants, the Dodgers, back-to-back series, I believe. And then you have the Padres later down the line, and
I think
the Phillies and the Braves play each other. Yeah, they have a rough schedule. Don't look past that rough schedule that the Braves have. The Phillies could be back in first place in a week and a half if everything goes perfectly fine. Probably more than a week and a half. But I'm trying to look on the brighter side of this Phillies team. Now, I know earlier in the season, it looked like the Phillies were just plain out done. They picked up their play, like T said, when we were on vacation. The Phillies team, they were hot. I went to the series against the Pirates when it was the worst Phillies baseball that I've seen in quite some time. After that, they picked it up. They just have I believe the Rays are first overall in the entire MLB that they have. I'll be at that game tonight watching this Phillies team. I'll probably go home disappointed, but you know what? It's the Rays are a good team. All right, we can't just keep getting down on the Phillies because they're losing to great teams. This is a team that just needs to make the playoffs to impress the fans. So this team knows that they're not going ahead and winning the World Series, but they're sure as hell going to try. But their real main goal is making postseason baseball after, I believe, it's been what? It's been 11 years, has it been? It's been 11 years.
Yeah.
Since postseason Phillies baseball. So I'm going to be, I'm looking for this team to really go down the stretch and succeed, win all these, not all of them, but most of the series, and make a push for that postseason.
Got to make sure that second class is out of the way first before you enjoy that game. I'm sure. But,
yeah. Yeah,
Overall,
definitely.
I think. Listen, I'm not going to throw my. This is where I want to kind of bring up the Freddie Galvis point, because when we first got Freddie Galvis at the trade deadline, we were looking for that big move. And obviously, we got Kyle Gibson. Just went 8 innings over the weekend. You got Ian Kennedy, a closer, right? That was the big move of the day. The underrated / who cares really was the Freddie Galvis move. But the fact that Didi Gregorius is playing poorly, he's not hitting, he's really not fielding. Obviously, you're going to get Freddie Galvis back from the IL very shortly. He's a guy I would plug into the starting lineup immediately just because of his defense. I mean, I know he's not a world beater out there, but he's definitely a hell of a lot better defender than Didi Gregorius is. You never know what he can do with his bat. He's always hit around 240 to 250. Not great, but hey, that's 40 points higher than what Didi Gregorius is giving you. And then you have Ronnie Torres at third base, and Rhys Hoskins coming back with his hair on fire off the IL, 2 home runs over the weekend. And then you have Odubel Herrera, who all of a sudden has been swinging a hot bat. So with all that kind of combined, you have Sam Coonrod, who, listen, the first 2 months of the season, we were looking at Sam Coonrod with an ERA under 1 and a possible all-star appearance. Now, he gets beat around a couple games, obviously lands on the IL as well, but he's going to be coming back hopefully within the next week. And a guy that none of us kind of remember, well, I shouldn't say that, but definitely forgot about possibly, is Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin out on a rehab assignment right now at Double-A. You're going to get him back to the rotation soon. So my whole point is, if you're going to take any positives away, like Tanner was trying to look at, you don't have to rely on Vince Velasquez of the world anymore. You probably won't have to rely on Matt Moore anymore once we get Zach Eflin back in the rotation. Shores up your starting pitchers overall. Your bullpen with finally a legit closer, I guess you can say, in the back end, with a couple of middle relievers sprinkled in. I know Alvarado's been banged up with some shoulder inflammation. Hopefully that's not too serious and he can get back soon. Because I mean, when he's on and he's right, he's basically untouchable with his fastball, but he's just very, very wild. So there's like 3 or 4 names in that bullpen that, not saying you can rely on, but when they're out there, it's not like last season where you thought they had no chance. So your pitching overall isn't the worst. I mean, it's probably middle of the pack. As long as your hitting can kind of be above average, with Hoskins coming back, Galvis playing better defense, hopefully, than Didi, and Kutch, who's still, that knee injury, I feel like is still bothering him a little bit, but overall has been relatively solid. Hopefully, with all that combined, they'll be able to at least stay neck and neck with the Braves down the stretch, and hopefully this is where the schedule lies, because this is literally what I've been relying on the whole time. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, the schedule, the Rockies, the Cubs. I mean, these shitty teams that we still have to play. I'm relying on that because we got to beat up on these guys, and then we go out there and lose 3 to the Diamondbacks. So my head's spinning all different directions.
See, that's the thing, Max. We're not winning the series that we're supposed to win, and that's the part that frustrates me. That's the part of me that's like, why should I believe in this team? Like, I don't care how close we are to the Braves. I don't care how difficult the Braves rest of the season is. I don't care about any of that. I'm looking at the Philadelphia Phillies, their roster right now, the way they're playing. Why should I believe in this team? I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. You can call me a Debbie Downer.
Okay.
You can call me Nancy.
That's fine and all, but I don't want to see you wearing a Phillies playoff hat 2021 if things go well for this team. You've already signed off, and that's on record now.
You know what? Stamp it right now. I'd like to thank the Philadelphia Phillies for participating in the 2021 MLB season. They're not making the playoffs.
Boy, do I hope they make the playoffs now. So I can keep this on recording.
Okay, that's fine. We
Yeah,
go back.
we'll be posting this on our story if things go well for the Phillies.
That's fine. If things go well for the Phillies, that's perfectly fine. Listen, I'll eat my words. Okay. I will eat my words. However, it's not gonna happen. So until then,
you better get a fork, T. You better get a fork.
Well, until then, the both of you can straight up shut the F up for life. That's what the both of you two can do.
Listen, we'll see what happens. I'm with this team. They're obviously the number one sport in the city for me. Always have been, always will be. But again, I'll give you, if there's anything I know we've been gone a couple weeks. Anything else you guys want to get on your chest as we wrap the show up, please be my guest. But on that point for me, I think I'm done. I'm putting the stamp down. I'm gonna get ready to enjoy this Phil's Rays game tonight.
You're going to enjoy it. I'm just going to watch it because I have to. But listen, people need to tamper down in terms of football. Just relax. This is preseason. Regular season's coming, people. I know everybody's excited for football. Just relax. It's going to happen. And the Phillies ain't making the playoffs.
Oh.
Phillies are not making the playoffs. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
Whatever. You'll see me on TV catching a home run ball tonight, T.
Okay. I'll hold you to that. I will hold you to that. All right.
On the next show is memorabilia.
Yeah.
With all that being said, if you guys missed any of this episode, you can always go to philly-experience.simplecast.com. We are available on all major downloadable platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can catch us live on Twitch as well. The entire Shabazz. It's good to be back. Boys, this is going to be an interesting football season. And you guys are going to eat your words because the Phillies aren't making the playoffs. I'm calling it right now. I'm sorry. They're not making the playoffs. I don't care.
Bird.
Talking about the Titans, T.
Yeah, okay. They're gonna be fighting for mediocrity. That's exactly what
The box.
That guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
You dumbass.
We know it's hard.
I want me some glory hole.